Okay, so today we're going to kind of just do a general overview of what we've been learning about photosynthesis, cellular respiration, and ATP. I call these notes "Where's the E?" meaning where's the energy? We're going to follow it all the way from the sun into our cells, into the ATP molecules of our cells, okay? So we start out with photosynthesis, of course. Without photosynthesis, no life could exist on Earth because this is the process that, if you think about a food chain, this is how energy gets into the food chain and gets passed along. So without photosynthesis, without plants being able to harness the sun's energy in their chloroplast and use it to make food, all life on Earth would perish. So it's a really important process. So we start out with kinetic energy in the sun and the reactants, carbon dioxide and water, and what's made, glucose and oxygen. And the energy now is in the glucose. So it was in the sun, and now it's potential energy in a glucose molecule. Potential energy, remember, is stored energy. So it's a really good molecule for storing energy. Where does this happen? The chloroplast. Who does it? Plants. Okay? Now if we take these products and we make them the reactants of the next step, which is cellular respiration, we take that potential energy in glucose and we release it. We're breaking down the energy in glucose and releasing it. So our products of photosynthesis become our reactants for cellular respiration. So glucose and oxygen react. Our products are carbon dioxide, water, and kinetic energy. This is happening in the mitochondria. All living things do this. This is really important that you realize that plants have to do this as well as all animals and all living things. Okay? Plants don't get food from photosynthesis. They make food by photosynthesis. They store energy in the food they make. Well, how do they get the energy to grow, to develop flowers, to develop leaves, to make longer roots? How do they get the energy to reproduce and make seeds and fruits? That comes from cellular respiration. So all living things do cellular respiration. Plants, animals, bacteria, mushrooms, everything, all living things do cellular respiration. Now the problem is this kinetic energy here. That kinetic energy cannot be recognized by the cell. Remember, we talked a little bit about this, that it's kind of like money, American money that you're trying to spend in France. This cannot be recognized by the cell. So if you wanted to buy something in France, okay, you wanted to go to a little coffee shop and get a croissant, you can't give them a couple of dollars. You have to give them euros. This is like dollars in France. So you have to change this into euros. And so the last step of cellular respiration is changing this kinetic energy into a form of energy that the cell can recognize and easily use. Okay? And that's the ATP cycle. And in the ATP cycle, this kinetic energy that can't be recognized by the cell is used to make ATPs, just like you did in Lab 13. All that's happening is you're attaching the third phosphate on and storing a tremendous amount of energy in that bond holding that third phosphate group on to a ATP molecule. When the energy is needed, you break that third phosphate off and you've got kinetic energy that the cell can use for its activities. Now you've got ADP, which also has potential energy, but it's a lower amount than ATP because there's only 2 phosphates on it instead of 3. And that third phosphate can be reattached simply by adding energy from glucose during cellular respiration, which is then stored in the ATP molecule, and the whole cycle simply repeats over and over again. Again, since this is part of cellular respiration, it happens in the mitochondria, and all living things are doing it. All living things use energy from ATP molecules. That's how they get energy to do their activities. So ATP is a pretty important molecule for living things. Please let me know if you have any questions. Good luck with studying this week. I will see you next week.